On Halloween night, reality gets blurry and the barriers between worlds grow thin. As we rake the leaves and carve our pumpkins, something stirs in the shadows. It's the season of the unknown, where the veil between our world and what lies beyond weakens, and whispers of other realities creep into our own. We like to think of our universe as this vast, infinite expanse, but what if it's not so simple? What if our reality is just one of many existing side by side, like pages in a cosmic book? Imagine a place where every decision you didn't make, every path you didn't take, played out in a parallel existence. A world where you made that winning shot, asked out your crush, or maybe never existed at all. The idea of parallel universes has captivated physicists and philosophers for centuries. It's a concept rooted in quantum mechanics, a realm where particles can exist in multiple states at once. Some believe these states could represent entire realities, branching off with each passing second. It's a dizzying thought, isn't it? To think that countless versions of ourselves are out there, living out their own unique destinies. But what if these parallel universes aren't so parallel after all? What if there are points where they intersect, overlap, bleed into each other? There are documented cases, unexplained events, and chilling encounters that suggest these alternate realities might be closer than we think. Stories that will send shivers down your spine and make you question the very fabric of existence. So, lock your doors. The human mind struggles to comprehend the vastness of infinity, the concept of endless possibilities branching out from a single point. Yet that's precisely what the theory of parallel universes proposes. Picture a reality where you're a celebrated musician instead of a struggling artist, where you survived that near-fatal accident, or maybe where you never even existed. These alternate realities might seem like the stuff of science fiction, but there are those who believe they hold the key to some of the universe's greatest mysteries. The strange case of Lorena Garcia, for example, who woke up one morning in a reality that seemed subtly but undeniably different from her own. Her bedsheets were unfamiliar, her clothes were missing, and her boyfriend was suddenly an ex she'd never actually broken up with. Then there's the unsettling phenomenon of déjà vu, that eerie feeling that you've already experienced the present moment. Could this be a glitch in the matrix, a brief overlap with a parallel timeline? Or what about those who claim to have traveled to alternate dimensions, returning with stories of bizarre creatures, impossible landscapes, and societies vastly different from our own? These stories, whether rooted in scientific theory or whispered tales of the unexplained, all point to a single unsettling truth. The boundaries of our reality are not as fixed as we might believe. And sometimes, on nights like Halloween, when the veil between worlds is at its thinnest, those boundaries can be breached. Our first story centers around a young woman named Sarah, who, like many of us, had a fascination with mirrors. She always felt a strange pull towards them, a sense of mystery and the unknown. Little did she know that her fascination would lead her down a terrifying path, one that would make her question her sanity and the very nature of her existence. One evening, while getting ready for bed, Sarah noticed something peculiar in the reflection of her antique vanity mirror. It was a subtle difference, barely noticeable at first, but as she peered closer, a chill ran down her spine. The reflection staring back at her wasn't quite right. Her eyes seemed a shade darker, her smile just a little too wide, and there was a strange glint in their depths that sent shivers down her spine. At first, Sarah dismissed it as fatigue, a trick of the light, but as the days turned into nights, the unsettling feeling persisted. The reflection grew more and more distinct, the differences more pronounced. The once familiar face in the mirror now held a sinister undertone, a mocking smile that seemed to taunt her with a dark secret. Panic began to set in. Sarah tried covering the mirror, avoiding it altogether, but the sense of dread followed her. Sleep became a distant memory, her dreams haunted by the distorted reflection, and a growing fear that something sinister was lurking just beyond the surface of her reality. Imagine staring into a mirror expecting to see your familiar reflection, but instead, a chill crawls down your spine. This is what happened to Sarah, a young woman living alone in a bustling city. One seemingly ordinary evening, as Sarah glanced at her reflection, she noticed something unsettling. Her reflection, for a fleeting moment, didn't quite match her movements. At first, she dismissed it as a trick of the light or fatigue, but as the days turned into nights, these glitches in her reflection became more frequent, more pronounced. The once comforting ritual of looking at herself in the mirror now filled her with dread. Her reflection would sometimes wear a sinister grin, other times its eyes would darken, reflecting an unknown terror. One night, as Sarah lay in bed, unable to shake off the unease, she heard a soft tap on her bedroom window. The tapping grew more insistent, pulling her from her bed towards the window. As she peered into the darkness, she saw a figure standing outside. Our next story takes us to a small town, nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering forests where time seemed to move a little slower. It was here that a young man named David received a phone call that shattered his reality. It was a Friday evening, and David was preparing dinner when his phone rang. Glancing at the caller ID, he froze. It was his grandmother, a woman he loved dearly, but who had passed away a year ago. His heart pounding in his chest, he hesitated, torn between curiosity and an unnerving sense of dread. The phone continued to ring, each ring like a hammer blow to his resolve. Finally, he answered. A wave of relief washed over him as he heard his grandmother's familiar voice on the other end, but as they spoke, a chilling realization crept in. His grandmother sounded different, younger, more vibrant. Section 2, A Conversation Across Time. Our next story takes us deep into the heart of a sprawling forest, a place where sunlight struggles to penetrate the dense canopy and shadows hold secrets best left undisturbed. Two friends, Emily and Jake, were on a weekend hiking trip, eager to escape the hustle and bustle of city life. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the familiar trails gave way to overgrown paths, the air thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. It was then that they stumbled upon something utterly out of place. Standing in a small clearing, almost completely hidden by the encroaching foliage, was a weathered wooden door. There was no house, no structure, just this solitary door, standing alone in the middle of the woods. Curiosity got the better of them. They exchanged a nervous glance, an unspoken question hanging in the air. What lay beyond that door? Was it a portal to another world, a gateway to the unknown? Section 2, A Glimpse into Another World. A young woman named Sarah was visiting her grandmother's grave, a secluded spot nestled deep within a sprawling ancient graveyard. As she knelt, whispering memories into the cold stone, a chill wind swept through the graveyard, rustling leaves and sending shivers down her spine. It was then that she noticed him, a man shrouded in shadow, standing at the edge of the graveyard, his eyes fixed intently on her. He was tall and gaunt, his features obscured by the darkness and the distance. He seemed out of place, a discordant note in the sombre symphony of the graveyard. His presence sent a wave of unease washing over Sarah, a primal instinct screaming at her to flee. Heart pounding in her chest, Sarah tried to ignore the man, but his unwavering gaze held her captive. She quickly finished her prayers, placing a single white rose on the grave before rising to her feet. As she turned to leave, she couldn't help but steal another glance in the man's direction. To her surprise, he was gone, vanished like a phantom into the labyrinth of headstones. Relief washed over her, but it was a fragile thing, tainted by a lingering sense of dread. As she hurried towards the safety of her car, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of a branch sent her heart racing. She couldn't explain it, but something about the man, about his intense, unwavering gaze, filled her with a deep and unsettling fear. John was on his way home from work, his mind weary from a long day, when he spotted her. Standing across the street, bathed in the warm glow of a streetlight, was a woman who was the spitting image of his wife, Mary. He stopped dead in his tracks, his heart pounding in his chest. It was her. Every detail, from her fiery red hair to the way she tucked a stray strand behind her ear. He couldn't believe his eyes. Mary was supposed to be at home, preparing dinner, not standing on a street corner miles away. He called out to her, his voice a mixture of confusion and relief. But the woman didn't respond. She just stood there, her back to him, her body language radiating an unsettling stillness. John's gut twisted with unease. Something wasn't right. He knew his wife, knew her mannerisms, the way she carried herself. This woman, this doppelganger, was off, like a painting that perfectly captured Mary's likeness but failed to capture her essence, her soul. He decided to approach her cautiously, his mind racing with questions. As he crossed the street, the hairs on the back of his neck prickled with a sense of foreboding. He was now close enough to make out the subtle details. A faint scar on her chin that Mary didn't have, a necklace she had never seen before. His pace slowed, his apprehension growing with each step. Who was this woman, and what did she want? An antique mirror, passed down through generations of the Blackwood family, held a dark and unsettling secret. It stood in the grand hallway of their ancestral home, reflecting the family's triumphs and tragedies. The mirror was ornately framed, its surface etched with time, its reflection slightly distorted. Emily, the last Blackwood, was drawn to the mirror, its allure both captivating and unsettling. Her grandmother's tales of the mirror's strange properties fascinated and frightened her. The mirror, her grandmother warned, was a portal to another realm. One stormy night, Emily stood before the mirror. The only light came from a flickering fireplace, casting shadows. She stared into her reflection, her fear mirrored back. She noticed a subtle shift, a flicker of movement. A figure began to materialize in the mirror. A young woman, pale and terrified, appeared. She wore a long gown, her hair disheveled. Emily realized the woman was staring back, pleading for help. Story number 9 takes us deep into the digital world, a place where the lines between reality and virtuality blur. Our protagonist, a young programmer named Sarah, found herself working on a groundbreaking project, a program capable of simulating alternate realities. The potential was limitless, allowing users to experience different versions of their lives, to explore the what-ifs and maybes that haunt our thoughts. But as Sarah delved deeper into the project, she began to notice glitches, strange anomalies that defied explanation. At first they were just minor inconsistencies, flickering lights, distorted sounds, but as the glitches grew more frequent, more intense, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. One evening, as she was working late, she stumbled upon a hidden directory within the program's code. This wasn't part of her design. It was as if the program itself was generating new unknown elements. Curiosity overwhelming her better judgment, Sarah clicked on the directory, and what she saw sent a chill down her spine. It was a message, a simple yet terrifying message that seemed to be looking back at her from the depths of the digital abyss. There are others. Others like what? Sarah thought, her heart pounding in her chest. Was the program somehow connecting to other realities, or worse, were other entities trying to cross over into her world through this digital gateway? The possibilities, as unsettling as they were, swirled in her mind, fueling her fear and curiosity in equal measure. Our 10th tale takes us on a solitary journey into the heart of nature, where the tranquility of the wilderness conceals a chilling secret. A young woman named Anya decided to spend a weekend camping in a remote national park, seeking solace and a break from the hustle and bustle of city life. She found a secluded spot deep in the woods, pitched her tent, and spent the day hiking through the towering trees, enjoying the crisp air and the sounds of nature. As evening approached, Anya returned to her campsite, a sense of unease settling over her. It wasn't anything she could pinpoint, just a feeling, a prickling at the back of her neck that told her she wasn't alone. She tried to shake off the feeling, attributing it to being alone in the wilderness, but as darkness enveloped the forest, the feeling only intensified. Anya was startled by a blood-curdling scream echoing through the trees, a sound so filled with terror and pain that it sent shivers down her spine. It sounded human, but there was something off about it, a strange, almost distorted quality to the scream. Anya's heart pounded in her chest as she strained to listen for any further sounds, her senses on high alert. And there you have it, 10 terrifying tales from the unsettling world of parallel universes. These stories, while fictional, offer a glimpse into the terrifying possibilities that might exist just beyond the veil of our reality. Each tale serves as a chilling reminder that there are forces at play in the universe that we may never fully understand, dimensions unseen that hold unimaginable wonders and unspeakable horrors. Perhaps these stories serve as a warning, a cautionary tale against tampering with forces beyond our comprehension. Or maybe, just maybe, they're a glimpse into the infinite possibilities that the vast, mysterious multiverse holds. Whatever your interpretation, I hope these tales have added a healthy dose of fear to your Halloween night, leaving you with lingering chills and a newfound appreciation for the familiar comforts of our own reality. Sweet dreams, everyone, and remember, some doors are best left unopened.